How's it going, folks? It's Lobo, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another episode of Hawkeye. This would be episode 2, and if you're not already caught up on my series, you can find that all in the description, as well as any Disney Plus related shows that have to do with Marvel, such as WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and What If. That is all in the description. If you want to get caught up with that, great. If not, that's okay, because here we are with another episode of Hawkeye. And for those of you who are frequent with my channel and are aware of how I do things around here, you will know from last video, which, as I mentioned, was an episode 6 reaction of What If, that I'm dealing with technical difficulties, and mainly that it has to do with my microphone and how recordings are being saved. So what I mean by that is I'll talk and my mic will be recording, and then just randomly it will stop and saying there was an error. We couldn't handle all the processing. Your PC specifically couldn't handle the processing, so we had to shut your microphone off and stop this recording. And frankly, doing that over and over again, because it has been a reoccurring thing on my channel, just more so in my experience of trying to run this channel, and it's been annoying. I don't easily get annoyed, but when it's just over and over and over, like the literal definition of insanity, you reach a point where you're like, oh, come on, man. So It was last night. My mic wasn't on for the rage fest I threw, but what happened was I was doing my post reaction discussion, and all that was for naught because it, again, as I was saying, it never recorded. So I posted a little thing at the end of that video, meaning last video, where I described the situation I'm describing now. But if you're into the technical stuff, because here's the thing, I've never claimed to be the brightest bulb or sharpest tool in the shed, whatever you want to say. Of course, I'm very smart in certain areas. English is not one of them. I've told you that time and time again, but it's ironic because I'm very smart with numbers and math, but when it comes to like computer shit, I'm lost. I have no idea what to do. So whenever I watch YouTube tutorial videos or stuff, or even trying to set up all my equipment here in the like channel and how the channel works and how you have to edit videos and stuff, it was like, oh my god, my brain, this hurts so much, because you have to download so many things and look for files and zip thingies, and I just don't know what that means. Same thing with computers, because everyone's like, oh, PC gaming superior, look at my GPU 3000X RTX. Like, I don't know what that means, man. And it's surprising. I love video games, and I just don't know what that shit means. I don't know like specs and stuff. And so when it comes to like that sort of aspect of making videos, it's frustrating because I can't quite grasp it. And then when you have these errors coming, I don't know what to do. So anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is that when I make videos, I record from my camera in one app. One app is recording what I'm watching, and then another app is recording my microphone. So instead of all that and the stress on my PC, because apparently my PC can't deal with it, I found a way to make one app record what I'm watching and what I'm saying simultaneously while separating the audio tracks in a way that I can edit each one differently. So I'm like, thank God. I mean, it took like 2 hours of research and testing and downloading the right file, because I kept downloading the wrong one. I was getting so mad, but I finally did it. But anyway, that was probably unnecessary, but if you skipped over to watch just my reaction, you didn't want to watch this bit, I totally respect that, because honestly, this is like boring talk. But some people understand what I'm talking about, because it can be very annoying at times. Technology is supposed to ease your pain, not increase it, but okay. I thought I saw blinking, because it's funny, because the blinking on my microphone means it's on mute, so I was like going like this because I have like one of those pop filters that goes over it, but since I'm swaying my head, it made it look like it was blinking. I'm like, shit, it's not recording. That would only add to the fire of my anger, but we're all good. One other thing I wanted to say before we begin is that if you're, well, obviously you know, I always do a previous sort of, before we begin reacting, a pre-reaction discussion, and I want to let you know that this might sound weird, but I'm getting rid of that altogether. Like, this is the last time you will see a chunk of me talking before the reaction. And why I'm doing that is because I want to just sort of jump right into the reaction and not necessarily dwell on my thoughts before the episode, or just theories for the episode or stuff. I don't want to just go into there while I'm saying a mouthful and like losing brain power because I'm trying to think through the episode and stuff. I'd rather just start watching and go into it and experience it like sort of fresh. I'm not eliminating the post-reaction discussion. That one I'm actually improving. And one more before we begin on to that is that this is only for shows. I will always do a pre-reaction discussion for movies because that's like a one and done. But for a series, I don't think it's really necessary to recap every episode after. I'd really rather reflect on the previous episode once I'm done watching the new one to see, hey, here's how it transitioned, and here you can see like the linear path and sort of character development and such. I'd rather do that, take that approach. And as I was mentioning about my post-reaction discussion is I'm going to write shit down now. Not while I'm reacting, but when I'm done, I'm going to go out and write on a piece of paper certain points I want to make. And it's not because I don't know what to say. If you've watched me before, you know that I like to do one continuous take where I just keep talking and talking and talking because somehow I'm able to do it. A lot of people can't, and they have to do sort of cuts. Or if you're reacting with multiple people, it's easier to bounce ideas between each other, but it's much harder to sort of do it on your own. And I've always tended to, well, I've always not tended, I've just frankly always been reacting by myself, but I've always managed to sort of always, wow, that is really saying always a lot. I've always done one continuous take. The only time you'll see cuts on my channel is if I do something embarrassing, which I'm not going to say, but it's like stupid stuff like sneezing or those rare times where I just completely blank out and then am at a loss for words. I'm like, what am I doing right now? Those are the only times I'll do a quick cut, but I'm going to do that now with my post-reaction discussion because as I mentioned, I'm writing stuff down. And now I'm going to get to the reason why, because I've said a mouthful. I'm going to begin the episode soon because, as I mentioned, this is the last show-related pre-discussion ever. And why I'm writing stuff down is not only because other reactors do it. I'm not trying to copy or get in with the trend, but it's just easier because when I finish editing and I look back at my discussion about the episode or just things in general, I realize at times I miss points I wanted to make. I'm like, shit, I wish I would have said that and stuff because I want everyone to like sort of understand where I'm at and how I feel. And obviously I enjoy saying stuff about what I watch. So I just want to remember certain points that I always want to make, and I just want to put that down and make sure that I'm able to articulate that and stress that to you so you can understand how I'm feeling about the things and sort of my own opinion on it. So that's just the reasoning why. And I've talked enough. Let's get this started because this was the last pre-discussion. So pretty much if you're looking for an explanation as to how this is going to go now, it's not really a big deal. But for any show-related things, I'm probably going to talk at the most like 2 minutes. But I want to do less than 2 minutes before we just get into the reaction. Again, movies are different because that's more one and done. But that's pretty much all I had to say. So here we go. Episode 2 of Hawkeye. I've talked enough, and I'm excited for the next episode. So, yeah. I'm just reading the little introductory paragraph to what this episode is about, the sort of synopsis for it, if you will. And I just came across this line, which I just find hilarious, where it's saying, in regards to Clint Barton, but first, he needs to help Kate Bishop disentangle herself from the tracksuit mafia. That's hilarious. Last episode, I was talking about sort of my parallel or what I think this sort of villains of the episode, if you want to even call them that, they were frankly just thugs / robbers, but they were wearing sort of jump / tracksuits with the ski mask. But it really reminded me of like Spider-Man thugs when you specifically play Insomniac Spider-Man on the PlayStation. That's what it really reminded me of. But I was also getting like mafia parallels because there were people in suits and they looked like organized crime. It made me think of the Magia also in Spider-Man. So I was just like, wow, that's really cool parallel, but that's interesting. I don't think they'll be called the Tracksuit Mafia for long though, because that's really not a name. Also, one more thing before we begin, I'm sorry, I swear this is the last thing I just forgot to mention, is that last episode, when I was looking at Kate Bishop, because I know the actress's name, Haley Steinfeld, I'm sorry, I always mispronounce her last name, but I've seen pictures of her before, and I always thought she had sort of brown / hazel eyes, And she had like bluer eyes in this. And then I was like, is she wearing contacts? This was sort of some idea going on in my head. And I looked it up. And to my surprise, well, not really, she actually is indeed wearing contacts. I'm like, huh, that's weird. I can't really find an explanation as to why. Maybe Kate Bishop has blue eyes in the comics, perhaps. But I just don't understand why start that now? Like, we've had so many actors play their respective characters, and they've had missing things like hair color, eye color. So I don't understand why now she has to wear blue eye contacts. I don't get that. So if one of you knows why, just please let me know, because last episode I was through my mind, I'm like, her eyes look a little different. It's because she's wearing contacts. And I saw some people talking about that in like other YouTube comments on Reddit and Instagram. And some people are like, they don't even match where her pupil placement are, and she looks cross-eyed and stuff. I'm like, oh god. So that's interesting.
Do you live near here?
Yeah, I don't know if I live home. Just, yeah.
Here, take this.
Okay.
Are you okay?
Come with me, I'm fine.
Come with me. Come on.
So I saw a dead body.
Well, she does a good job at trying to be this sort of obsessed, not obsessed, but the diehard fan. We're like, oh my god, my idol. I don't know how to react.
That's how you operate? You're just constantly looking for things that are suspicious or weird?
Her apartment's at the back of a pizza shop? That's how she gave the dog pizza last episode.
Kid?
Yeah, I inherited it.
You 18?
I'm 22.
Yeah, same thing.
Not really, what? How did she inherit a pizza shop apartment? I know her mom's super rich, but like...
So what all did you do in this suit?
Questions, I have so many for you. Starting with, can you sign this?
I'm not done yet. I did. Tracksuit Mafia.
That's their name? That's a little on the nose, don't you think?
It really is. I mentioned that.
His uncle.
Your mom's fiance's uncle.
Armand the Third.
That was Jack's uncle?
Did you stop anywhere before that?
I just dropped off the dog.
Hey, Kate Bishop!
Damn. I can't get over this dude, the Tracksuit Mafia. Oh shit, he got it! Dude, they're still saying bro. I love it so much. Who needs the Sinister Six when you got the Tracksuit Mafia, baby?
Stop!
Just grab the dog and go!
Wait, what about the suit?
Leave it! Come back for it!
Probably just best to let it burn.
I need some supplies.
Hell yeah. Avengers supplies?
Neosporin.
Is it an Avengers tower?
No. Tony sold that a few years ago.
Tom Holland, like today, said he knows who bought the Avengers Tower, so everyone is like, ooh, who? With all these theories and stuff. Well, I guess we'll know in No Way Home, potentially.
Stash me? Not a pack of money.
No, you're not. That can money be useful to me.
Next.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, well.
Yes, hey, hi. Yeah, we're, got pizza. Good.
What? What?
Uh-huh.
Hello?
Yep, that's it.
That worked. She's very smart when it comes to those sort of improv things. And being able to manage every situation.
Right.
Is she gonna lockpick it this time? She failed in the first episode. She couldn't fail in front of Hawkeye, though. Wow. So nonchalant, just like that. Bro, and he grabbed the helmet, too. But firefighters are super tight, and I feel like they would be able to pinpoint that someone is not a part of their squad. But he's doing a good job of sort of keeping his head down. NYC LARPers.
Since when did everybody start saying I love you to everybody all the time?
That was my mom. Since when did your heart shrink 3 sizes?
When a little girl in ninja costume stole my Christmas.
I mean, she laid out the Grinch reference, and then he sort of dunked it. So that was cool. Nice interaction.
Shit.
What?
Did you clean it?
Yeah.
You did it all wrong. Let me fix it. So we can mend to each other faster. Lace done?
Yeah.
All good?
Mm-hmm. What I could remember of the tracksuit's faces?
I guess you're not an art major.
Okay.
Your costume looks pretty bad. And how about now? You see me? Yeah, when you see me sneaking and creeping, it feels like you're already dead.
It's a cosplay site? Wait, it happened too fast. Did he type OMW and it autocorrect to on my way? Because that always happens to me on my damn phone. I hate it. I hate it so much with the exclamation point. It's like, oh, on my way. No, I did not say that.
No, it's not about the ninja. Most important things, remember these 3 words. Don't lose Nate. Well, where's Nate? Where's Nate? Guys, Nate, come on.
I love you, Dad.
I love you more.
They're learning sign language. That's cool.
Look at me. I'll be home for Christmas.
Promise me.
Yeah,
Promise.
I should fix.
Let's hope he can keep it.
A major NYP.
I think he knows he can't make it because he knows he's about to open a door, so to speak.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, he still got the sleeve. It looks so clean.
She's just gonna come and find me anyway.
Damn, look at her outfit.
She owns a security company. It's literally the safest place I can go.
Go get changed. You look silly.
I'm gonna go see what else she has.
I thought it was a nice bathrobe. Kind of reminds me of like the Ice Queen or whatever from Narnia. Who's now the Ancient One. Well, a dead Ancient One, but still.
I need you.
Oh. What happened?
That.
Stevie, you want to say hi?
That one's you.
No, it's Katniss Everdeen. Let's go.
Your problem is
Damn, he thought it was for him. I mean, it's pretty much real. In real life, there are no Hawkeye fans. I'm just kidding. I don't mean to start a war in the comments.
It's certainly not Halloween costumes or toys off the shelf.
Inspiration, Clint.
just letting it ring through, so I have
Got you.
your.
Okay?
Cool. Call you later.
No, please don't.
I got your number.
Bishop Security. So she wasn't bluffing. I thought that was like sort of a cover. My mom works at a security firm.
Sorry for your loss. I saw it on the news.
Thank you, Kate. Hires my approval, yet wants to set firm boundaries. She feels threatened by me, and you know what? I can understand why.
I come up with the conversation topics.
That's awkward. I can tell she's trying to investigate him a bit. See how she's like asking certain questions, trying to incline him to say certain things. She definitely knows something more is afoot. And like I said, she's pretty smart. She's able to get around, so I'm interested to see more development in that area.
The live action role plays, this whole thing.
When is it over?
Midnight.
Live action roleplay?
Folks out there are firefighters and cops. And if you break the rules, it's gonna get real messy.
You don't mess with conventions, Clint.
One free hit. If you get hit in the torso, it's fatal.
Violent.
Just
Dude, he's gonna be a god at this, holy shit. I actually saw this in an episode of American Dad, LARPing, the live action roleplay. If you know what I'm talking about, then you'll understand. Hey man, people that are into that role-playing shit, they'll give you a good performance. They'll react right. So this is not far-fetched at all, because they will do that.
Cause a scene here, all right? Out of respect. Wherever the hell this is, fine. So you got two choices. Or I'm gonna real punch you, and you're gonna real fall down, and I'm gonna take that suit.
Just work with me. Let me kill you.
And I fought Thanos.
Damn, bro! Why is she trying to destroy him?
This is Detective Cottle of the New York Police Department asking.
Then it.
She thought it was him calling.
The ritualistic potion. It is a bottle.
I'm good, thank you.
You're not gonna reap benefits.
Oh, this looks so bad.
Can't have that show up on my credit card.
No, they will charge you.
Yeah.
Like, this has been like the best day of my life.
I can't say the same.
I'm Grills.
Nice to meet you, Grills.
Girls.
Well, then you have 5 days to keep that promise.
Yeah.
Was a 2-time state champion. Good with all the outdated weapons. I'd say it made me pretty aware of when someone is trying to stab you in the back.
Okay, I think.
Oh!
Oh, but dear, I think a common interest is very fertile ground for bonding.
Oh, come on, why not? Got some spare fencing gear.
She's being pretty forward on her suspicions, like really laying it out that, hey, I'm onto you. Even though she's doing it in a sort of metaphorical way.
Wow, you are good. Oh, caught me again. Wow, you are good.
Okay. I prefer a fiance with 4 limbs, please. Stop letting me win.
I'm not.
What are you hiding, Jack?
I'm an open book. Right, darling?
Kate!
That right there, she caught him. That reflex was way too good.
What I was trying to do was prove that he is lying, which I successfully did.
I'm gonna go change.
It's you. He ends up murdered by sword. How many people get murdered by sword each year in New York? I'm gonna go ahead and guess 0. There was more. There was a ninja suit and a street gang, Molotov cocktails.
Street gang?
Ninjas? Exactly as in the... Butterscotch.
It's Armand's candy.
What's up, bro?
Bro?
She wants him alive.
What?
I could see through the bag.
She wants him alive? Why'd he intentionally get caught? I mean, he's an expert. He knows what he's doing. He obviously did it for a reason.
You know, sometimes back-to-back calls isn't the right move. In this case, it was.
I'm sorry. Clint Barton can't take your call right now.
Damn, she's tracking him? With Bishop security? Well, that's illegal.
Fine place. No, old warehouses are being converted into lofts. So how can I get something better? No,
Bro.
Come on, bro. But he's criticizing.
Look, guys, I'm not Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop is guy, bro.
Kate Bishop is not Guy.
Kate Bishop is guy in costume.
Wow. This is like talking to furniture. I came here.
You are our hostage now, rozumiesz to?
Well. I mean, is that him there? I would really like to speak to your boss.
Where's Kate Bishop?
Who are you talking about?
There she is.
Bro, I found her.
Oh, you will not fall off. It's strong.
They tied him to those. That's That's awesome. Please put a coin in. And this is their boss. She's Echo, right? We'll talk about her later. There we have it, episode 2 of Hawkeye, and I enjoyed that one a lot. It was very funny, and just going off of that, it makes it tonally different from the previous one. I mentioned in my other reaction that the first episode had subtle sprinkles of darkness, and it was hinting at a sort of grander scheme, but it has thematically a more nuanced type of vibe, and just sort of, it's not direct, but it's sort of hinting at it. Like, the suspicion is there, the suspense, and the idea that there's something a little bit more different going on. And you can take that literally and sort of metaphorically, because, again, it was hinting at a conspiracy, but also you had these elements which really went more towards not necessarily a murder mystery, but the hintings of killings, which makes it a little bit more dramatic. In a sense, not dramatic like, oh, this a love story, but no, a little, as I mentioned, darker, which was cool. But of course, this one is different because not all episodes are going to follow the same formula, and each episode is dependent on its own and is trying to tell its own story. But this one, as I mentioned, just it felt a little bit different, which is not a bad thing, of course. It felt more lighthearted, again, comedy-centric, which is not a bad thing. It really reminds me of the sort of layout for Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok was more on a full comedy, but here I saw a lot of comedy. But with Thor Ragnarok, it was essentially a journey, and along it was a lot of comedic elements. You can say the same thing about any Marvel movie, but I felt like Thor Ragnarok was more a journey because it was about progression and just heading down the road with sort of no destination, but you have to fumble all these things while juggling, again, that comedy and that lightheartedness. But I felt like that blend really presented itself in here, and that was just sort of the vibes I was getting with this episode. Major part of that has to do with the what was it, jumpsuit or tracksuit? I think it was the tracksuit. The tracksuit mafia. That's like the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know if that's in the comics, but dude, that's crazy. I said before we started reacting that it did remind me of Spider-Man thugs, because sort of cliche New York thugs wear the ski mask and the red jumpsuit with the chain and stuff, but it really did remind me of Spider-Man there. And then the organized crime, more formal, wearing the tie and stuff when we were in the wine cellar and stuff, reminded me of Mafia / Magia for Marvel's sake. But the tracksuit, freaking Mafia, man, that's just, that's so good. And I love how they're always like, hey, bro, what you doing, bro? That's great. And I love how they tie them to, like, the carousel. Not that wasn't the carousel. Like, the little, I forget what they're called, like, the riding things you put the coins into, like the pony or the car or whatever. It was just, that was so funny. If they did put coins in it, that would have just, I would have died. But that was really funny. But, yeah, no, this episode was very good. Again, it was just more on the comedy side, but that just makes it a more enjoyable experience. Again, this one is not necessarily trying to dive you into this hypothetical situation or try to have these dire consequences and promote choice and how things can reflect your decision and how there's consequences. No, it's more just like, hey, it's a Christmas story with a more grounded street level threat that it obviously is, while intriguing, is not necessarily on the grand scale as its predecessor, such as Loki being this sort of multiversal time variance phenomenon, versus here, again, it's just a more grounded approach, which I appreciate because it's different, and we need, honestly, I think we need more things like this. As you can see, there was a cut there because, as I mentioned before, I'm changing up my post discussion reaction because I'm writing shit down now, so because I want to get certain points out. So yeah, there was my first cut. But now we're going to talk about Clint. And something I noticed about him, I mentioned last episode, was that he was just more, not necessarily grieving, but he's just more caught up in his actions and his past. He's more reflecting on his past more than I thought. But also that, I wouldn't call it like flashbacks or PTSD or anything of the nature, but it just really reminds more of he recognizes the situations and he knows when things are going to go bad and stuff because he's an expert. He's been through it. He's seen it all. And he's climbed the top of the ladder in terms of enemies to fight. Because as he mentioned, he's like, damn, I fought Thanos. But, yeah, so always the little looks at him where he seems disappointed. Because I know at heart he really just wants to be with his family. That was his whole reason for becoming Ronin, was that grief and losing his family. And then when he was able to get it again, he was just... That was a great scene when he was able to go back when he used the PIM particles, and he was sort of the test thing because he knew he had nothing to lose, and he was like, I'll do it. And it was cool for him to go back in time. But I'm just talking about Avengers Endgame now, but just more on that was the fact that he just really loves his family. He's a family man, and obviously they come first, but he is essentially a soldier. Even though you can say he's a special agent, he's a soldier at heart, so he does his duties, and he knows that he has to protect others, and that's what he's doing with Kate. He's trying to help her out and set her up and give her expert knowledge and expertise in the situation and how she's able to evade things, even the small little things with the bandages and stuff. You can really see his expertise unfold there because obviously he has years worth of experience over her. And I really look forward to their dynamic progressing more because obviously he has a lot to teach her. And he noticed when he was in her apartment before it burned down that she has a ton of trophies. She's practicing with her marksmanship and obviously this punching bag. So he knows that she's dabbling all sorts of things. I think she also spoke to him about doing like karate or martial arts and stuff. So he knows that she's training and stuff. So I would imagine that he's at first reluctant to train her, but eventually I feel like he'll go all in on it once he sees the value in her more so because obviously she's done pretty good, but it's amateurish. She's somewhat held her own. And I like that. I mentioned that before where she's just not your straight cutout hero like, hey, look at me, I can do everything. It dulls the experience when people are like that. I like to see character progression and see them unfold into sort of their prime selves and evolve into this amazing heroic character that's like, hey, look how much I progressed and how I had to overcome the mountain and now I can take on these even larger threats. So I can't wait till she gets to that point, but obviously I do imagine him to be training her, and obviously in later episodes I feel like that is going to take place because obviously in the comics I feel like that's the whole point of Kate Bishop, is her being the super fan and then eventually being trained by her idol. So yeah, and then another thing I sort of picked up on is when his wife, Laura, I think is her name, I can't remember. And I remember seeing her name once on the phone after Hulk snapped everyone back, and then he picked up his phone and it was a call from his wife. But she mentioned the tracksuit mafia, so I'm like, she knows about that. Because obviously that's his wife, but I was sort of not sure how much information he was going to sort of give her. I thought he would be more hesitant to tell all the details to his family and specifically his wife. I know typically with your spouse or significant other, you really do share a lot of information, which is good. Honesty is always a great thing, but I feel like when it comes to that, more sort of the darker things like war and past grievances and such, you keep to yourself. So I'm like, so he mentioned that, but that just makes me wonder. Excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups. That just makes me wonder if he talked to her about him being Ronin. Did he mention that to her at all? That's what I'm wondering. Does any part of his family know he's Ronin? I know his children don't because they say, look at the ninja in the suit. Like his younger children, his daughter, and then his youngest son. But obviously, if they knew his past, they wouldn't be saying, look at the ninja in the costume. They would be able to recognize the costume and say, hey, wasn't that yours? But I would feel like if anyone out of his family were to know, it would be his wife. So I'm just wondering, to the limit, how much does she know? And then when it comes to Kate, as I mentioned earlier, I liked how she's sort of progressing, and she's not quite there yet. She's making amateur mistakes, and she's a good fighter, but not great. But she's getting there. But one thing I'm really impressed by, because everyone has their attributes and where they might sort of fall at, not necessarily fall, but where they may lack, they make up for it in other things. And one thing I noticed, she's great in improv. She's able to sort of navigate her way through tight situations like very well. In the first episode, when she was, what was the guy's name? Gary. She's like, oh, Gary told me to do this and stuff. And then the guy went out and got Gary, and then he's like, I'm Gary. Who are you? And then I was like, oh shit, she's just been caught. She's been had. And then he's like, nope. Or just had a mega sneeze. So just, as I was saying, I thought she was getting caught and stuff. And then she was like, nope, flip the script. You don't even know my name? Yeah, I'm done. I quit. I was like, damn, that was so smooth. That way to come up with that on the spot and just get out of that situation. Oh, I thought that was genius. I'm like, damn, I don't know if I would have been able to do that. I honestly doubt it. So I was very impressed by that. And then in this episode specifically, what was it? She did something too in here that was, I was like, damn, that was smooth. Oh, what was it? Unfortunately, for the life of me, I cannot remember what it was. But again, it was just one of those moments where she was just able to not necessarily weasel her way out, but just find a way to evade the issue or the question at large. But again, I'm just impressed by how she's able to do this on the spot. She's very intelligent, and when it comes to these sort of situations, because there's a difference between intelligence, it can vary, like the street knowledge and stuff, like, you know, like life knowledge and such, how to navigate certain aspects, but in that criteria she does very well. So I'd like to see more of that. I wouldn't say it's like a detective or investigator or whatever, but she's able to sort of see into people, I guess, because she was able to do that with Jack, see through his lies and sort of figure out that he's hiding things from them. And specifically her mother, he was, well, just from Jack in itself, you get the idea of not necessarily pompous, but you kind of get like the douchey vibes and stuff. And obviously they try to do that because he's the stepdad. They're like, oh, you're remarrying to this guy and stuff. They try to make it like one of those, not cheesy movies, but that situation, that uncomfortable situation of the newcomer to the family. And they try to sort of exaggerate that with, I would imagine, his appearance, his expressions, and how he sort of talks and stuff. Because they want to make you feel uncomfortable. That's the sense I get from why they're sort of shooting it in this particular way in regards to how Jack is physically, how he looks. Because obviously he's got the mustache and he sort of has this flair to him, if you know what I'm talking about. So it's cool to see, but it's all like a little facade, and we saw that being exposed when she knew he was lying and when he was fencing, and she knew he was, I wouldn't say better than her, I do think he is better than her, but she knew he was better than he was letting on, and the quick, I'm going to stab you in the face, and then he was able to parry that, then you're like, oh, she got him, because it wasn't about anyone winning that situation, it was just about exposing him. So I'm like, damn, she was able to do it, she knew, but it sort of opens the door to questions about who exactly is he and what's his role specifically, because obviously he had the candy at Armand's apartment or house, that butterscotch candy that we saw in episode 1. So I'm like, that was from the crime scene. It's still, you can't rightly say that he killed him. I know he died of a apparent sword wound, and this guy collects swords. So there's two things that are sort of hinting that he is the killer, and he didn't really seem at all sad that his uncle passed away. He was like, oh yes, that's terrible. Kind of like Loki. Ah, yes, terrible. Anyway, but it was just, I don't know. He had a thing from the crime scene. The wound matches his collection of swords. And yeah, he really likes swords, and apparently he's good at swords. This episode, it's funny because we live in the 21st century, and this is in the MCU, modern times with all this advanced technology, but we have sort of old school things. Hawkeye with a bow, he's a marksman, and then you have Jack, who uses swords, he's good at fencing, he's a swordsman essentially, so it's like funny to see these like old style arts of warfare and combat still being used in such an advanced time. But the last thing I wanted to talk about was the character at the end that we saw when Hawkeye was being kidnapped. Well, he kind of intentionally handed himself in, and obviously the tracksuit went off. He's like, bro, we are interrogating you. We kidnapped you. But It's just funny. Their boss, that they were saying that, you know, she wants him alive, and then you're like, who's she? Who is this? And there's no name reveal, and you just pan to her in a room chilling and stuff. And I think she was using sign language, because I think this is the character Echo. And if you've seen my previous video, you know that I'm not familiar with that character. I think she has something to do with Daredevil, because Daredevil always has to do with that sort of, not necessarily hearing, but more of extravagant sensing. Because obviously Daredevil, I don't really know Daredevil, because I know he has some sort of accent. I watched the Ben Affleck one like years ago, and I know he had like acid in his eye or something, but he can sort of still see, but it's like different than human sight, but somehow more advanced, and it really helps him with the reflexes and stuff. I don't know if it's like hearing, like hear like a bat. I don't think so, but with Echo, as I mentioned, I think she was using sign language, but is she able to hear? And does she have any superpowers? Because I think with the name Echo, that it would entail that she does have some sort of power that has to do with not necessarily bat sonar, but that thing of echolocation and stuff. So maybe we'll have to see. And I know Daredevil's theme is red. The color palette uses a heavy emphasis on red, because you want to get that visceral identity. And that shot of her also had a red tint to it, and it was in like a red filter. So I'm like, damn, if she really is a Daredevil character, that's what it reminds me of. I've not seen Daredevil, but obviously I've seen countless pictures and sort of promo for the show, and I'm very intrigued by it. And I think I will watch it because of all the speculation that Matt Murdock is going to be in No Way Home along with Wilson Fisk and shit. So I'm like, that could be very interesting to watch. But just summing up, I really like this episode, and I'm curious where it's all going to go, because obviously we have this two different things going on. We have sort of the thing going on with the Ronin suit and all that entails. All the people, you're not necessarily wrong, because again, they were they were organized crime. I was trying to say crime families, different franchise. But organized crime, so you're like, oh, technically that's not a bad thing and stuff, but I'm not going to get into the ethics of vigilantes and putting justice in your own hands and stuff. But obviously, when he dabbled in that, he made a lot of enemies. So now they're trying to get back at him, because they're like, oh shit, the Ronin's in New York. Let's get him. Let's jump him. And then because of events, they think it's Kate Bishop. So now he has to clean up his past and his mistakes, because it put her in danger. Obviously, I'm not saying her donning the suit is necessarily his fault, but it does technically all go back to him, because he was the one who originally put it on and decided to make those actions. And because of those, other people are suffering. And being the good man that he is, and as being a hero, he's trying to rectify those mistakes of his past. And as she said earlier in the episode, he was talking about sort of heroes and stuff, and she was saying that there's some line where she was saying he was an inspiration of sorts. Obviously, she was speaking for herself when she originally saw him, when he saved her from the Chitauri, and she saw him grapple and bust through the window and stuff, and that's what ignited her passion for not just archery and all these marksmanship and fencing and stuff, but also the sort of want and need to do good and be heroic and protect her family, protect her mother, go into that role of that hero, essentially. So it's cool that she would subtly reference that, but he didn't quite pick up on it, because how could he know? But I just thought that was a cool interaction. And she also has a lot of cool interaction, because she's pretty straightforward with what she wants, where she's putting it in a metaphorical manner or just saying it in a way that's not necessarily direct, but you can pick up on it. When she was saying things about the lying with Jack, like she was like, oh, I know when someone's going to stab me in the back, but like looking directly at him while they were talking about how she doesn't trust him. I'm like, damn, she's really saying what she believes without saying it. She does a good job on it, but if you're not accustomed to that sort of talk, not able to decipher the sort of battle of wits, you won't pick up on it. But I just thought that was cool. She's very good with that. But yeah, good episode. The second part of the thing I was wondering, because obviously I mentioned the Ronin suit and stuff, but we still have the murder mystery, and I'm wondering, is Jack connected to the Jesus Christ, the tracksuit mafia? I don't think he is. I feel like he's something else altogether, because obviously we have the murder of Armand, his uncle, and we had a little rich, as I call it, the rich society conspiracy going on in the wine cellar and in that office building or whatever it was. So we have two sort of separate subplots of crime and murder mystery going on. So I'm like, how are they all going to intertwine and connect? Very interesting, though. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And to those of you watching up until this point, I hope that this new sort of format for my post-reaction discussion wasn't too bad, because obviously I did a few cuts there because I wanted to gather myself, look at my notes, because I wanted to mention specific things at certain times. And but personally for me, I think I'm going to stick with this formula because I feel like it allows me to really say what I want to say while not forgetting anything. But I feel like I will, of course, just like tomorrow, I'll wake up and be like, damn, I forgot to write this one thing down. Because as I mentioned in some videos, but not recently, when you react, a lot of things sort of flies through you, but if for some reason at later times it will just dawn on you and you're like, shit, that's why that did that, or whatever. It connects later, the processing. Because usually when you watch things on your own and you're quiet and you're attentive, that you're able to pick up on everything, every small detail and how it connects to the grand scheme of the plot and stuff. So it's a bit different with reacting, but I hope you guys can enjoy this somewhat, at the very least. That would be nice. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Next, let's see, because I always record shit in advance, so I'm trying to pinpoint what's gonna be next. Next video, I'm gonna be talking about the Batman. Not necessarily a spoiler, because if you're on my channel, you'll see what the title is, because technically this could be a spoiler. So if you don't want to know, it's going to be on my channel. Other people have talked about this. Other like really major reactors and comic book sites have all talked about this. It's like semi-public information, but not really. So if you don't want to know, just like click away. I'm not giving you like spoilers, but I'm just telling you what my next video is about. But as I mentioned, you're going to get, if you want to even call it spoiled, if you follow my channel, because it's going to be up in the subscription feed or whatever. But I'm going to be talking about the Joker in the Batman, who's playing him, and how real the confirmation is and stuff. So we're going to be talking about that, because I have a lot to say on that matter as a very passionate Batman fan, and as someone who is a little on burnt out on the Joker. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about that in the next video. So until then, I will catch you folks in the next one.